Okay, so on this episode of Doctor Who Review, we're talking about Kerblam! Because who can? Kerblam can. And Kerblam can do everything, including, in addition to delivering your packages, also attempt to save itself. So, yeah, I didn't quite know what to expect with Kerblam. The title sounded stupid, the company still sounds stupid, and the robot was obviously going to be the murderer, or a series of murderers, or something along those lines. It's really, really weird. This episode sort of takes elements from not just possibly The Beast Below, but it even sort of took a bit from the episode The Doctor's Wife with the message. And it even went the extra mile again with possibly referencing the audio play Robophobia and even Davros, which is a really great play, talking about corporations and the idea of robots coming to take jobs. It's all sort of weird. Like, there's multiple things in this story that should work, and to me, it doesn't feel like it does. And that doesn't mean I don't buy the tension, or at least buy the idea. Like, when our revealed antagonist, Charlie, reveals his issues, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but this is sort of a cop-out, because we don't really quite answer the questions of exactly who's right and who's wrong. Is Charlie right? Well, Charlie was right, but then Charlie fell in love. Like, that part is where we get lost. But let's just sort of take a step back. So our characters in this story are two people. Well, two of them are the personnel person and the manager, and we're led to think, well, they're the bad guys. Turns out they're not the bad guys, but they're designed to look like the bad guys. Then we have Kira, who is obviously not the bad guy, who possibly should have been the bad guy. That would have been interesting. And then we had, I think his name was Daniel. He is a nice guy, which by default he had to die first. Okay, sure, whatever. And there's Charlie. See, I trusted Charlie because Charlie was the name of the guy from Scent of a Woman, and that kid was cool, and I thought we were going to defend Charlie. But no, we're going to reward the company and destroy Charlie. And I just, it's still like every other episode so far. It's like, I want to give this a C+. It's like, when I do the report card for this season, I'm going to put not living up to its potential. That's exactly what I'm going to have to say. Like, yeah, you're not failing, Timmy, but these are not, you're barely passing. Like, what is this? But we're going all over the place, aren't we? Let's get back to the focus here. So, Kerblam is sentient enough or self-aware enough to send a message to the Doctor. But it also knew the Doctor because of the Fez thing. So, when did this happen? Like, I think the biggest problem is we had to add the Kerblam thing in. That the Fez, which was a nice attempt to like, hey, remember this? You like the Fez, right? And there's like, oh, there's an extra message, help me. So who would Kerblam have called before that? Wouldn't it have just been more interesting if Kerblam had just sent a parcel that was empty, but said, help me, as the message? And that would have still worked. I also didn't buy the Doctor using the psychic paper and the sonic screwdriver together. How did she not hear the sonic screwdriver messing with the tablet? That was my question. Like, how did she not do that? How did she not hear? Should she be fired? And well, Ryan reminds us that he works at a factory. He works at a place like Kerblam. So, like, hey, let's be workers. And we don't really get into the actual merit of the story, like what's actually going on, which is humans losing their jobs to robots. There's a mandatory human quota, but we don't hear a lot about that. Instead, we sort of hear like, yeah, these jobs are going away, and that's all there is to it. But we don't actually hear about how hard it is to get a job in a world where technology is constantly growing. There's even too much of a reference to imply that it's just like Earth. That, yeah, we would spend too much time on our cell phones, and now why does this planet have cell phones? We could have easily just said, hey, technology is growing, and robots are the future now. Okay, that ties enough into the present day, but also enough into the idea of it being alien, where here we would still have people to maintain the robots and create other jobs because of it. Again, it's sort of like oxygen, but not having any real direction to it. Instead of trying to give it it went the other way around. It went the other way, actually. Instead of saying, oh, its faces, capitalism, it's someone rebelling against capitalism. And the problem is, like, any bit of a hint that Charlie was the bad guy would have helped. Would have helped at all. Like, Charlie is talking about, how hard it is to get a job at Kerblam, or the fact that there were other people that used to work at Kerblam, like maybe his grandfather worked at Kerblam, and then his grandfather lost his job, and his dad lost his job. More and more people have been replaced at Kerblam that he knew. That would have been interesting. This sort of feels like, I mentioned this before in the Oz Effect for Action Comics, when we have a factory worker who's mad at these illegal immigrants for taking his job. Superman only yells at, or he chastises the workers who are mad, but doesn't go after the fact that, hey, these businessmen knowingly hired illegal immigrants because you could pay them less to do the job. So there's sort of a problem here, but Superman doesn't address the problem. He addresses the side effect of the problem. And that's where this episode sort of has the problem. It wants to address an issue, but doesn't quite know which issue to focus on, or something along those lines. To be fair, the robots are scary. They're not as over the top as the robots, or as the robots in the Beast Below. They look like something that's actually designed to make you feel good until you see them in the dark and their eyes start glowing. I also personally don't like the idea you just keep teleporting things into the TARDIS and just saying, like, it just seems weird that should be allowed. I think everyone else turned out a relatively good performance. Yaz still seems to have nothing to do, but she had a great moment at the end. Her interactions with her new friend before he, gets killed by the robots. And it's kind of it, really. Hopefully next episode will be better, or at the very least it'll be another C+ episode. Points of this series, though, nothing's been a D, or even an F, or a C-. Well, maybe a C-. But with that in mind, what did you guys think about the episode? Was there more to Kerblam than I thought? Am I just constantly rambling this video? Only you know, because I'm not really going to go back to this. Anyway, if you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos on this channel. It really helps, and I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. May your fandom serve you well.